Hello and welcome back to another video on the Football Zone and to a weekend previewing this week's Premier League and Championship action. And let's get straight into it, starting off with Saturday in the Premier League. West Ham taking on Chelsea at the London Stadium. And yeah, this is a big game for both of these teams. West Ham definitely on the up. Recently, only one loss in the last 5 in all competitions. Good draw away at Newcastle last week. But Chelsea, yeah, it's taken some time for the new squad to click, isn't it? It's a game they should be winning. But West Ham, they're fighting back at the moment, so I can see them holding to the draw. I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on then to the Emirates Stadium, league leaders Arsenal. Taking on Brentford. Obviously Arsenal kind of fortunate with that loss Man City had against Tottenham, kind of rendering the Everton loss meaningless. But yeah, they really do need to bounce back. But that's going to be easier said than done with a Brentford team that's absolutely flying at the moment. I think it's fair to say that 3-0 win over Southampton last weekend, playing so well in the Premier League in 7th. But yeah, Arsenal simply have to bounce back, really, don't they? And I think they will do. I'm going to say 2-0 to the Arsenal. Moving on then to Palace as they take on Brighton at Selhurst Park. And yeah, Palace, their form recently hasn't been good. This year, yeah, just 2 draws and the rest of them have been losses in all comps. And yeah, Brighton flying along. Playing wonderful stuff. Last minute winner, obviously, last time out. So yeah, Palace in 12th, Brighton in 6th. Brighton really pushing for Europe. It's not going to be an easy game, this one, at all, for Brighton. Obviously, rivalry between the two sides. I can kind of see them cancelling each other out. I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on then to Fulham as they take on Forest at Craven Cottage. Fulham obviously had to play in midweek against Sunderland, just about came up on top, where Forest have had a clean week. Maybe that could come in an advantage. But yeah, Fulham, they're safe now pretty much. 32 points, and they didn't need to worry about that. Forest have got a 6-point gap as well, so they're looking good as well. So yeah, Fulham, I think they can kind of really go out and play with freedom here. They've got the cup to focus on, and yeah, they're playing well at the moment. I can see them winning this one. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then to Leicester as they take on Tottenham at the King Power. And yeah, Leicester coming into this one off the back of 2 wins in all competitions, unbeaten in 3. So yeah, they're going well at the moment. But Tottenham also have 3 wins on the trot. Obviously a big win over Man City last night, which is a big result for them. Leicester, they've got a 3-point gap to relegation zone, so you know it's still very close for them in there. But Tottenham, yeah, really hunting down the Champions League spots now. I think that's fair to say. I'm going to say this will be a Tottenham win. They're starting to get back to their best, I feel. I'm going to say 2-0 Spurs. Moving on then to Southampton as they host Wolves in a massive 6-pointer down at the bottom of the Premier League. And yeah, Southampton, yeah, it's not going well for them, is it? In the cup competitions, they're fine, but in the Premier League, ever since Nathan Jones came in, it's been nominally shambles, and pressure's really going on him now. But Wolves 3-0 win over Liverpool, and boy, oh boy, was it needed. They kind of stagnating a bit under the Lopetegui, but if they could win here, that would really give them some decent gap over the relegation zone. I'm going to say a draw, though. Southampton must win, Wolves must not lose, dare I say. For Bournemouth, though, they take on Newcastle at the Vitality. And yeah, this is an interesting game. Bournemouth coming into this one not in great form at all, really. Obviously gutted not to hold on for a point at Brighton last time out. That was a real shame because yeah, they hung in for so long. But yeah, Newcastle, their form, I don't know, it seems it's a bit up and down at the moment. Obviously should have beat West Ham last week, so they kind of need to get the consistency back against Newcastle. Bournemouth that are struggling at the moment, I expect them to see, so I'm going to say 2-0 to Newcastle. Moving on then to a rematch of the midweek fixture, Leeds taking on Manchester United at Ellen Road this time. And yeah, Leeds, obviously, I think in a way they'll be gutted they didn't hold on. For a 2-0 advantage, you expect them to hold on, but you know, still a great point. Manchester United, I think they'll be disappointed they didn't win it as well. So you know, it's a game where both these sides kind of feel like they have something to prove. But yeah, the atmosphere will be buzzing at Ellen Road, I think, with a new manager in place. But yeah, I feel like Manchester United will step up a notch from what we saw in midweek and get the win 2-1. Moving on then to Manchester City as they take on Aston Villa at the Etihad. And Man City, yeah, obviously need to recover from that loss to Tottenham, which, yeah, it's such a bad defeat that, because that could have really piled on the pressure. Aston Villa obviously were going well in the Premier League, but lost to Leicester last weekend was a really disappointing result. Still in 11th, though, having a pretty decent season. But yeah, for Man City, the pressure's kind of all on them for this one, and yeah, they need to win it. I'm going to say it'll be 3-0 to Manchester City. Moving on then to the Merseyside derby, which takes place on Monday, and obviously this is a big game for Liverpool and Everton, really. Everton 1-0 win over Arsenal last time out, and yeah, what an incredible win that was. Sean Dyche Could he be the man to save Everton? I think he quite well could be. But yeah, I mean, Liverpool, 3 goals conceded to Wolves. There isn't a better time for Everton to play Liverpool, and I don't think there's a worse time for Liverpool to play Everton. Normally you'd expect Liverpool win. I still do, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. I'm going to say it'll be 2-1, very close game. Moving on then to the Championship games now, and starting off on Friday night with a derby in the Midlands, with Birmingham hosting West Brom. And yeah, this is an interesting one. Obviously, Birmingham in that incredible match against Swansea last time out. And West Brom, though, coming up trumps with a 1-0 win against Coventry. Both teams come into this one on a bit of a high. West Brom seriously pushing for a playoff place, obviously boosted by the core brand news. And yeah, I think they're going to celebrate that with a win. I'm going to say 2-0. Moving on then to a big game down at the foot of the Championship with Blackpool hosting Rotherham. And yeah, Mick McCarthy's come in and he's overseen 2 losses and a draw. But yeah, I think they did really well to get a draw against Huddersfield. But Rotherham, they're improving as well at the moment. 5 points from the last 3. So yeah, they'll definitely be feeling optimistic coming into this one against a team that's struggling at the bottom. And yeah, it's a big game for both of these sides. Rotherham still have a bit of a gap, but you know, they need to keep on picking up points to keep it that way. But yeah, I can see Blackpool winning here. New manager bounce. Moving on then to Bristol City as they take on Norwich at Ashton Gate. And yeah, Bristol City coming into this one on really good run. They've won the last 2. They're unbeaten since Boxing Day. So yeah, that's really impressive. Definitely turned it around when pressure was growing. But Norwich were going well under David Wagner, but obviously had that really bad loss to Burnley last time out, and they need to correct that. And I think they will. I think they can have just enough. I'm going to say 1-0. Moving on then to Burnley as they take on Preston at Turf Moor. And yeah, Burnley absolutely flying along at the moment, aren't they? Won in the FA Cup in the last minute. Everything they do at the moment is just going swimmingly, dominating the Championship, all but promoted to the Premier League already, let's face it. Against the Preston side that, you know, are quite inconsistent. They've lost the last 2, and I think you'd be a brave man to say that they won't lose the last 3 after this one. I think Burnley will win it easily. They're just so far ahead of everyone at the moment. 3-0. Moving on into Coventry as they take on Luton at the Coventry Building Society Arena. And yeah, Coventry coming into this one off the back of 1-0 loss to West Brom, 4 losses in the last 5. It's not quite going well for the moment, but Luton obviously had that bad defeat to Grimsby last time out, but in the league form has been exemplary, in 4th place at the moment. Yeah, playing some great stuff, I think that's fair to say. But yeah, I'm going to say it'll be a draw here. I can see Coventry at home. Luton still off the back of that Grimsby defeat. I'm going to say 1-1. Moving on then to QPR as they take on Millwall at Loftus Road. And yeah, QPR, they're kind of the draw specialists at the moment, but they need to start winning. They haven't won a game since the 17th of December, so it's not quite gone the way of Neil Critchley really since he took over. Yeah, ever since McBeals went, or even just before that, it's just gone downhill for a bit for them really. They're mid-table now. Millwall, they still pushing for a playoff place. It's an intriguing game. I'm going to say it'll be another draw for QPR. 1-1. Tough place for them all to go. Moving on then to Stoke as they take on Hull at the Bet365 Stadium, and Stoke coming into this one off the back of a 1-0 loss to Luton, which was disappointing because they were kind of picking up form with that win over Reading, win over Stevenage in the Cup before that. But Hull, 2 wins on the trot now, so they'll be feeling quite confident coming into this one. I think they're solidly mid-table now. Stoke got a 5-point gap of the relegation zone, so you know there's still work to do there. But I'm going to say this will be a draw. I don't think there'll be much to separate the two sides. Moving on then to Sunderland as they take on Reading at the Stadium of Light. And yeah, this is an interesting game because Sunderland, yeah, you kind of get the feeling that you know, they've got a few injuries out at the moment. Obviously played midweek, so yeah, that's a bit of a shame for them. Because obviously, yeah, players you imagine would be more tired than the Reading players were. But yeah, Reading not in the best of form at the moment. Did pick up a good fighting comeback against Watford last time out there. So it's a game that could go either way, you feel this one. But home advantage, I'm going to say Sunderland's just edge it 2-1. Watford taking on Blackburn, at Vicarage Road. And yeah, Watford, yeah, their form, just 2 points from the last 3. It's not quite ideal really for a side that's chasing promotion to the Premier League. We know Watford aren't particularly keen on keeping managers for too long, so maybe pressure is growing a bit on Slaven Bilic, but you know they are still in the playoffs place. Blackburn, they're drawing at the moment. They need to win games really to stay in the promotion race, but yeah, I think Watford at home, they will have enough to get past them here. 2-0. Moving on into another game at the bottom of the table that has huge consequences. Wigan taking on Huddersfield, and yeah, Wigan, good draw in Caldwell's first game in charge. yeah, that will give them some confidence away at Blackburn. But Huddersfield, they've drawn the last two now, obviously without a manager after sacking Mark Fotheringham. Yeah, not winning that game against Blackpool, that was a really poor result, and I guess that's why they got rid of him. Just to the point, I'd say fair enough. I mean, yeah, it wasn't going right over for him. But yeah, two new managers. It's a game that you could feel go either way. I'm going to say we draw 1-1. Moving on then to Cardiff as they take on Borough at the Cardiff City Stadium. And Joe, if there's a game where you wanted to predict a comfortable winner in this one, yeah, it's probably this one. Yeah, Cardiff just struggling so much at the moment, aren't they? When was the last time they won in the league? It's like November or something like that. It's been a ridiculously long time. But Borough flying under Michael Carrick. Yeah, Cardiff serious trouble. I'm going to say this will be a simple away win, an easy one to predict here. 2-0 Borough. Moving on into Sheffield as they take on Swansea at Bramall Lane. And yes, Sheffield United coming into this one, obviously off the back of that win over Wrexham, which will be a relief for them. But yeah, boy oh boy, Wrexham pushed them hard, didn't they? But yeah, Swansea off the back of that loss to Birmingham. Russell Martin cutting a frustrated figure at the moment. So yeah, it's a squad that, may I say, isn't particularly happy at the moment. Swansea and Jess playing such a hard game. I'm going to say 2-0 to Sheffield United. But anyway, guys, that's it really. Thanks for watching. To like, share, subscribe, and what's going to stand really fun for daily football news and subscribe to the channel. It's going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.